This is Abith, and today I didn't feel like looking at a camera, so I'm just recording my voice. And so I can stare off into space, which is actually me just looking into my inner vision and waiting for the words to appear spontaneously. So I referred in the last video I made, I referred to something about projectors and invitations and things that I'd been hearing being said about that topic. And that I felt was not the truth for everybody. And misleading is not the word, because it wasn't like somebody's intention to do that, but it was, it just felt like it's not, it didn't resonate with my experience and with what I see. And so I've been feeling like, putting my seeing out there for what it's worth, and maybe somebody resonates to it. And maybe there's another projector out there that needs to hear it. And so a few things like, my experience is that it's not like you find human design, you find out you're a projector, you start waiting for the invitation, and then your whole life changes, bam! And then all of a sudden things get easier, and all of a sudden people are seeing you for who you are, and then all of a sudden you're getting the right invitations. And I hear a lot of talk like this that just feels so homogenized in that it feels like it's trying to it's like a marketing about come, and it's like a projector manifesting. Like, this is the way that you can do manifestation, the big thing that is so talked about, right? But, the projector kind of manifestation where, you attract the right people and you attract the right invitations, and then your life is just easier and you feel so seen. And maybe it's because I came to human design after 40. And that's a lot. Those are a lot of years to live as a fake manifesting generator. So, there's a lot there's a lot of shattering that the mind has to go through. A lot. Layers and layers of it. It's deep. And so my experience has been, I don't want to say the opposite, but it's not been that. My experience has been that life has become less populated, quieter, fewer invitations, very, very few genuine recognitions, and the few invitations that I get, my inner authority generally says no. And that's another thing I feel is kind of put on the back burner sometimes when I hear people talking about, it's just wait for the invitation. Okay, now I've waited for invitation, somebody's invited me, so now there's that's for me, just because it was an invitation. No, that's just part of it. Waiting for the invitation is the way that everyone involved is protected from projector penetration, from projector involvement, from too much awareness being thrown into a life process, which sounds kind of funny, but it was something that I once heard a long time ago, Genoa Bliven talk about, where he was actually talking about the defense circuit, where you have, the sacral throwing its arms out to the awareness centers, to the emotional, well, the growing awareness of the emotions, and the emotional, or the awareness of the spleen in the defense center. So the channels 59.6 and 27.50, those arms that are going out. And he talked about it as being like life needs to flow. Life, it gets the push from, like, the sacral is life, right? So there's this push from the root, and that flows up, towards the throat in this tantric way of, your own rhythms, and moving in the flow of life, and being really in the experience, and being your own pulsing beat to your self-expression. Like this expression of the identity from that power, source of power of the sacral. And how beautiful that is, of life just being vibrant. And then this defense circuit, these arms, this cross that crosses that those upward moving channels, the column in the middle, and puts its hands out to the awareness centers and says, hold on, we need awareness, but in doses. And that feels really like, that's it. Those are the two channels that go from the sacral to awareness centers. That's it. And so, there's one more, that the 3457. And so you've got this just very little, like just a little piece of awareness along to help move along life, right? But life has its own flow. We have about 70% generators, and we've got about 22% projectors. So that tells you right away, we don't need as much of this, like, guiding, as you need life to just move in its own flow, in just knowing itself, responding, creating, building. Like, that's the essence of life. And so projectors are meant to be in small doses. That's my sense. And so the invitation is that protection, that I don't get too caught up in the sacral, and I don't get too caught up in somebody else's life, right? And somebody else's energy, and somebody else's, I want to say somebody else's illusion. When you look into the magnetic monopole, which is what the projector does, you are looking at the place that holds the illusion together. It's grabbing the body and the personality, the design crystal and the personality crystal, and it's holding those frequencies together to create the illusion that is the being. And so the projector is really looking into that being, the illusion of this single being created by the frequency being held by the magnetic monopole, and watching its movie, its illusion projected out on the hologram of the Maya, if that's not too weird to say. And so we take that in really, really deeply as projectors. So it's, huge doses of that are also not really healthy for us, and it's not healthy for the other to be dealing with our penetration for too long of a time. Like, they need to flow, and I am talking about the projector generator, because that is the main relationship of energy and guidance. The manifestors and reflectors are, a whole other breed, so I'm not going to go into that right now, but this is what I base what my seeing on, is like, this is the main relationship, right? And it's what, my experience of something that my mentor said to me, which is, as a projector, you leave life alone until you're invited. You leave it alone until you're invited, and that saves your energy, and that is health. And that was like such a moment for me, that it was like, not just about you wait for the invitation because I don't know, that's just because that's the strategy. It's like, well, why is that the strategy? You know, and it is that you leave life alone. Leave life alone. Life is moving. Leave it alone. If you're invited to bring your seeing, that's another story. So there's that invitation opens that door for you to go in, penetrate, and have a look at that being and that illusion of separateness that's in front of you, and to say what you see. But secondly, the question is that invitation really for you? Because it might not be. Just because it's an invitation does not mean it's for you. And my mentor a year or so ago said to me, when I was starting to do massages and cranial sacral therapy and, hands-on stuff, and and I was just focused on, okay, I was invited, so we do it. Oh, that person invited me, so we do it. That was it. It wasn't going for much more than there's an invitation, and jumping into that because it was a way that I could be doing. The hooks of the mind are so deep. And she said to me she said many things that had a real impact on me, but this was, what if you let your inner authority decide who is going to be a client? So it's not just about saying yes because you got the invitation, but now that you have the invitation, does your inner authority want to put your hands, does your body want to put your hands on that person? If we're talking about massage, does your body want to guide that person in a class? If we're talking about that, does your body want to be involved in somebody's human design process? If somebody's asking for a session or whatever it is, like now why don't you let your authority decide? And that was so scary to me because it was like, but the money, like I need to be, my first line is like, I need to be self-sufficient because I'm not right now. I've been, living on savings and help from family and, got to get out of this situation. The mind's going to go to all the homogenized narration. So that was a shock for me when she said it to me. It was like, but I really took that to heart. And then I started seeing that actually the real invitations were few. For me, have been few. And the majority of them are a no. So for me, my experience has not been, begin to surrender to your design, begin to, study design, and then, ping, life changes and your bitterness starts going away and you start feeling successful. No, it's been a lot of mind shattering. And then more mind shattering, layers and layers and layers of it, where you just, sometimes just on the floor, overwhelmed by it, and having to look at the layers of conditioning and let them go. And then sometimes somebody sees me. Sometimes. Every now and again, somebody sees me. And an interaction happens that is not always something that is about making money. It's sometimes just an interaction where there's just awareness shared, there's just seeing that's shared, there you go, it's the idea of there's just a little of whatever's in me giving a little salt and pepper to somebody's process, and off they go back to their life. Sharing a resource, sometimes it's just really small things. Other times it's a little bit bigger or more involved process. But I just sometimes hear what's said and I think, God, if I hadn't had the experience that I've had and really trust in my own experience, and also, my body really pulled my eyes and my mind away from most of what is out there in human design. So, I've been in my little 1-3 hole, just living my experience, which is useful for not comparing, because then you're like, my experience is my experience, and that is all I know. And I don't fully know what it is to be a projector, because I am becoming one. I am not one. I am becoming one. Sometimes they say I'm a projector, but I have real sense that I haven't passed my 7-year first cycle, and I really sense that there are just way more layers to come off before I feel that I am seeing somebody not with my mind interfering a lot, but I'm just seeing. Alakanan Diaz talks about the projector seeing what is. We can see what could be, would be, should, maybe should be, blah, blah, blah. But that is not what we're here for. We're here to see what is. It's like kind of being a mirror, well, particularly if you're a projector with an open G, you're a mirror. Wow. That's not me. I have a very defined G, but I still have a sense where I'm mirroring. The open centers are places that are potential mirrors back to somebody, where things that I might share or questions I might ask just mirrors back to that person for whatever they need in their process. I don't know what their life is. How could I even assume to give advice? The projector is not about giving advice. In my sense, we're about projecting out our channels, having them recognized, and then having a mutual recognition back, and going into the projection of somebody else and saying what we see, just what we see. What is? What do I see? And for me, I do not have mental definition. I have no mental channels. So my mind is not guiding. It's my channels, right? That's what needs to be projecting out and giving recognition to the other. So it's not about me thinking about, seeing their life and being, well, if they did that, my mind could, my mind makes up all the stories in the world about my own life. It's going to do the same about somebody else's. But what the hell do I know about somebody else's life? All I can do is reflect back to them what I see, what I hear. Oh, you said this. Is that really true for you? Well, you said this, I see that your design is blah, blah, blah. So how does that feel? Does it feel like, whatever it is, this is what I see. And that's what we're here for. So another thing is I will hear not just projectors. I hear a lot of people just giving advice, and you need to do this, and you should do this. What do we know about what somebody else's process is? What do we know? Nothing. I don't even know about my own life. I can only watch it unfold. So it's the same thing when I step into aura with somebody else. I watch it. I'm just watching it. I have the honor of watching it unfold. Getting for that moment to be part of that process of life unfolding and witness it. And I, of course, say that as a prodigal. I'm witnessing. And so there just feels like, as sometimes I see, I don't follow a lot of, a bunch of the human design stuff that's out there. I really stay at the foundation. I listen a lot to Ra. I listen to Alok. I listen to, people who've been living it for a long time. Because what I'm interested in is what's your experience? What's the truth of your experience? What is, not as much of like, what does this mean and that mean, and that means that I should be. No, it's like everybody has to find out for themselves. The human design is just it's just a finger pointing at the moon. It is not the moon. So you use it as a map, as a guide, but you keep your eyes on the road. and you watch the path unfold before you. And and so there's things that I hear being said that I just cannot really relate to, and particularly with projectors. Like, I don't think there are many people that can say what a projector is, because it's been too little time that there have been awakening projectors. Like, the sample size is really small, and there's each one unique. So unique. So unique. I mean, there are things that we can know in general from the aura, what the aura is like, what the interaction is like, but what your life is going to look like as soon as you embrace human design, I mean, nobody knows. How many times did Ra say that? Nobody knows. I mean, he talked about, like, people would ask him, after my 7-year cycle, then what? He's like, I don't know. Why don't you live it and see? Why don't you wait and see for yourself, and watch the self emerge? Yeah, of course, the mind is going to be blah, blah, blah. Was that happening, or is that happening? It's going to try to understand. It's going to try to make sense of it. It's going to try to, come to some awareness about it. Cool. But it doesn't know. It can only watch. It can only watch. And then, make up some stories and try to see some patterns, and cool. And then it can just go back to watching. I don't even really know exactly what I said. But it felt like, and I feel like there's more. I just, my experience as an emerging projector has not been like what I hear so much out there. And I often hear this from people who are, in design for under 7 years, and I just feel like for me, each year brings more I don't know. Each year brings more not knowing. Because my sense is, as the mind shatters what it guesses that this is, what it imagines that this is, it has to run up against the wall of, actually, that's not it. And then shatter a little until it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I don't know. I really don't know. And the mind has to recognize that it doesn't have the answers for what your life is, because it's an unfolding surprise. But it can really learn by watching. And, surrender to the body. That's what it is. That's what it is. And for projectors, of course, I'm thinking of John Martin, who would say, projectors, the first thing you need to do is sit down and shut up. And yeah, I think sitting down and shutting up has been the majority of what's been going on for me the last couple of years. Not more and more recognition and invitation and success. No. It's letting the bitterness, old bitterness, ooze from the pores as I'm sitting here doing nothing, or relatively nothing, and keeping my mouth shut. And seeing things and not saying them, because you can recognize without saying anything. Because if nobody's asked you, shut up. Yeah, human design is not like a permission slip for the projector to begin throwing out their, well-meant advice here, there, and everywhere, just because someone asks them a question. I mean, it's taken time to shed the default, like, automatic pilot of go, 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 go. Do. Make something happen. Try to make something happen. I mean, it took a while for the real, like, the heavy weight of that to come off. And then it's been a lot of getting more still, getting more quiet, getting more still, getting more quiet, because that is where you hone your seeing. That is where you hone your seeing and your listening. Is when you're still and you're quiet, not when you're doing and talking. And that is, again, I'm remembering John Martin, the martial arts of being a projector, becoming a projector. The discipline of, for me, starting from stillness and silence. And then you wait. And the mind tells you do something and you wait. And the mind tells you that person saw you, no, you wait. When the body consciousness, when the inner authority, when your channels feel recognized and seen and invited and whoop, ready to come online and be involved in that life process, then maybe there's something to say. Or maybe it's just about being and seeing and bringing your projector aura, which is recognition, which is the possible frequency of recognition, awareness, seeing, just bringing that and letting it be present. Sometimes what's needed is just an ear and a stillness, because, how many people stop and can feel like there's nobody else contributing a buzz. A projector doesn't have a natural buzz. There's no sacral. So a gift that we can give is that inner stillness. And of course, if you're emotional, it's, the wave that's moving, but still there is the emotional projectors that I know that have been in their process, what I sense from them is there's just this deep ocean, but it's not like splashing around everywhere. It's not like, it's just, it's part of this, like, boom, still, just the density behind the eyes that are looking, the penetration of a focused aura, and eyes that have no agenda, a mouth that has no agenda, ears that have no agenda, mind that has no agenda. Like, that's a thing that takes a while. My experience, and I'm only 4 years into it, but it is taking time for that to emerge, because there are a lot of layers to take off, and there's a lot of mind shattering that needs to happen. So, my 2 cents for today.